We are live right now, and thank you all for being here with us. So my name is Erica. I am working in PowerToFly, and today we have a special guest with us that I'm going to present in a few minutes. But first of all, I would like to tell you something about this chat. And first of all, if you want to turn on your cameras, you can do it. If you want to come off of mute, you can just raise your hand and I'm going to let you unmute yourself. If it is, this recording is going to be in the rewatch email that we're going to send to you after this meeting. And if you want to ask a question or if you want to say something privately, you can message me and I can let the speaker know what the question is. And also you can visit us in our webpage or in our social media that is at PowerToFly, and subscribe to our channel in YouTube. So let's introduce the speaker today. And today we have Rhys. Rhys, welcome. It's nice to have you here. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I know the slide says I'm a Bronx native, but currently I'm living in Pennsylvania. I work as one of the tech people here at PowerToFly. I'm a DevOps engineer, and but when I'm not like coding or making sure that the site stays active, I'm usually just kind of writing. And what I really enjoy writing is horror and like sci-fi speculative fiction, something that really allows me to be more creative than coding. Oh, Erica, you're muted.
I'm sorry. So I know that you have prepared a presentation for us, so I will stop sharing my screen to let you share yours. And
let me share. Yes, share that. Okay, so I prepared a little presentation for anyone who is interested in going into publishing, or just like want to know what it's like being a writer. So I'm calling this, writer in progress, how to get your first book published. I'll talk a little bit about like my journey in like writing my first published book. Some of the like the two directions you can go into is traditional publishing, the pros and cons of that, or the steps you have to take, and even self-publishing. A lot of people like to go self-publishing for a variety of reasons with its own pros and cons. And then although I've never self-published before, I will let you know the steps to take for that. And then afterwards, I can just do like a Q&A. So my journey was, okay, this is going to sound weird. My journey was fast-paced compared to most people. So 2019, from October to December 2019, I was writing the first draft of my book, Burn Down, Rise Up, which was originally titled The Next Stop Is. And the reason why I was writing this for about, it's about like a month and a half. I was writing and rewriting and revising this, was because there was an event on December 5th of 2019 called Pit Mad, which is a pitching contest on Twitter where you pitch your novel in just one tweet. You're allowed to do like 3 tweets in one day. You pitch it in one tweet, and any agent or publisher who likes the tweet, it means you can email them directly, and it'll push you to the top of the slush pile. And usually, you can hear back with them like much, much sooner. So that's what I was doing. I was like, I'm going to do the pitching contest. I'm going to get whatever agent I can from this, and I'll move on. So from December, from that month until about February, I was querying the couple of agents that did like my tweet. And just like hearing back from them about what they liked about it and like what I want for my writing career. February 2020 was when I signed with my agents. And if you remember, February 2020, the next month was the pandemic. So, that was a whole thing. But I did sign with my agent right before the pandemic hit. And I spent the next couple of months up until August just revising with my agent, because my agent is very much editorial. She wants to make sure everything's like very much golden before she sends it off. And so once we were done with the revisions, we were doing something called going on submission, which is where she takes my book and she sends it to editors at several different publishing houses to see if they like it and they want to buy it. And so it was on submission for those few months. And then around October 2020, I sold The Next Stop Is, but was later called Burn Down, Rise Up. So remember when I said this is very fast paced compared to most other people? This altogether took 14 months to get my first book deal, from October 2020 to about, what was it? No, October 2019 up until, oh wow, hold on, that was not a year. It was 14 months, whatever. It was a very long time for me to even get my first book deal, essentially. And this is fast paced. This is definitely considered fast paced. Most people will be waiting months to hear back from an agent, or at all. Sometimes agents don't even respond to you if they don't like your book, which is something you just kind of have to learn to be cool with. So let me tell you a little bit more about traditional publishing, which is obviously the route I went down. So traditional publishing is a business. Now, what does that mean? So the cons of this is you don't have control over a lot of things. You don't have control over how fast agents get to you, how fast editors get to you, or how much priority your book is given. Even if it's your first book, it's your baby, it's the one thing that you're like, oh, this is my heart on a plate, please treat it kindly. You don't have control over how people receive it, or even if they want to receive it. Another con is that publishers will only buy books that they believe will sell, because again, it's a business, and that makes it very subjective. It doesn't matter if your book is like really, it could be really good, it could be, but if they think that it would be too hard to market the book, then oftentimes they will not buy it. And another thing is so much waiting. Took me 14 months from getting an agent to selling there's a lot of waiting involved in this process. The pros is you don't have control over a lot of these. You don't have to do everything yourself. You have an editor, you have a book designer, you have all the resources a publisher can give you. I spent about the last month and a half or so being on a book tour. So I was being flown out to different places because my publisher just had, the money to do that for me. So I didn't have to push myself out there as much. Another pro is, you get paid immediately. You get an advance from the time that you sign that contract, you get an advance, and then you get your next chunk of money when it's out into the world. And then if it really sells out, when it really gets a lot of attention and stuff and it sells out immediately, then you also get royalties. So you do get paid a little bit more immediately than if you were doing self-publishing. However, I would caution anyone against writing a book that they're not really interested in writing. There's always going to be someone who wants a book like yours. So I wouldn't say, oh, write something that you think that will just sell immediately just so you can sell. Because here's the thing, I have written and rewritten this book several times. I am tired of my own books. By the time you are working with an editor, you will have read every single page at least 5 times over. If you didn't even enjoy writing the book, you are going to hate revising it. So don't write something that you don't enjoy, because it's going to be a very grueling process for you. So the steps to take, at least for me, so obviously write the book, polish it up, get some beta readers if you need to, get some friends that you trust to give you feedback. And then the next step is definitely, you should research the agents and literary agencies. And why I say that is because some agents are very particular about the books that they even want to represent. So if you are writing, I use this example a lot. If an agent says, I only like to represent rom-com books, and you are writing a gritty book about Viking culture, do not send them your book. They will not care for it. you want an agent to represent you that actually does enjoy your book, because they're the ones that are representing you, you know, they're the ones that are going to be pushing for it to get published. So it's very wise of you to just research the agents, research the literary agencies. There are a few, you know, you can, it's not difficult to try and find out this information. You can find information on Publishers Weekly. There's also a query tracker, which if you get like if you subscribe to it, it even allows you to filter out what type of agent you want. If you just want like an agent who represents like people of color more often, than like it'll help you filter it by that. If you just want like a female agent, it'll help you filter it by that. So but that's like under the subscription. You can still like do some amount of filtering without it. But most of all, it'll also help you keep track of how many people, how many agents you do send a query letter to. The next step is write the query letter. You're going to need it, and you're going to need to send it out by the dozens. And here's why, because once again, there is a lot of waiting. And sometimes you're not going to hear back from agents. So you don't want to only send it to one agent, wait years for them to never get back to you. And then you're like, well, I guess I'll just move on to the next agent. Like, don't do that. Just send it out by the dozens immediately. And, you know, really harvest that patience. You know, patience is a virtue. You're going to need it in traditional publishing. So I spoke a little bit on query letters. This is what it is. A query letter it's a little bit like a cover letter, but specifically about your book and why this agent would want to represent you. So it's, you know, again, just a letter. It's one pager. It includes the book's genre and category, which specifies what age group you want, the word count, the title, subtitle, and then you have to have a hook that like just a short description of your story. Usually like maybe one paragraph is sufficient for that. And then a little bio note, usually something about yourself, something that gives you more credibility depending on like what you're writing. And then you just close it out saying like, oh, I look forward to hearing from you, etc. So I've included a copy of my query letter, the one that got me my agent, okay? So again, I did a pitching contest. So in the pitching contest, when my agent likes my tweet, you actually have to send in like a screenshot of the tweet. So mine just includes that little bit, but without it, then it's still pretty much the same. So I said, hi, Christina, you liked my tweet for PitMad, pasted below, and then the tweet. And then I go on to say, my name is Rhys Tirado. I'm currently seeking representation for my 72,600 work debut novel. I don't know what that meant, but it's fine. I clearly wasn't rereading this email. But then I go on to say it's called The Next Stop Is. It is a YA horror. You know, it's a young adult horror. It can be best described as Stranger Things meets the South Bronx. That little bit saying Stranger Things meet the South Bronx is what's known as a comp title, as in like you're comparing this to other works. Definitely something you want to do, just because it does add a little bit more information on what the agents can expect from it. A lot of different books will like have comp titles for that reason. And then I go on to say, like, you know, because it's about the South Bronx, I am a Bronx native. This is why I have credibility to speak on this topic. And then I go for a paragraph, I just say what this book is about. So for a year and a half, the Bronx has been plagued with sudden disappearances. I talk a little bit about the characters, Raquel, and what the stakes are in the book. So, oh, she has to complete this game, or she will risk being part of a horrendous experience forever. And then I close it out saying, like, as stated before, I live in the Bronx. I'm a Bronx native. I have in the past published, you know, some short stories. So, you know, obviously I've been published before. You can contact me at this email or like via my cell phone. And then after that, sometimes the agents will request that you paste only just a few pages, a first chapter, maybe 3 chapters into the actual email itself. I think it's because they don't like, if you send in attachments, it could get corrupted and like just give them a virus. And so like a lot of times they'll just request you just paste it into the email itself. So below this email is just like me pasting the first chapter of my book. and yeah, so this is what my query letter consisted of, and this is my agent now. Now for self-publishing, another very valid way of going about publishing, but very different, kind of a very different journey to go on. And, I obviously didn't go self-publishing route, but I did do some research for any of you who are interested, and I will, go through it here too. So the difference between traditional publishing and self-publishing is that while traditional publishing is a business, self-publishing is your business. And here's what this means. With self-publishing, you have to do everything yourself. So you have to get an artist to do the cover. You have to get an ISBN. You have to consider marketing. You have to consider ebook formatting. You have to do audiobook auditions. Another con for that is you don't get paid immediately. There's no contract for you to sign where a publisher will give you a nice chunk of money just to have the rights to your book. So again, this is your business. The pros for that is you have control over everything. You don't have to compromise your values or what your story is about. You can choose, like, oh, this takes place in like a very weird post-apocalyptic alien planet, and no one will say, hey, no one's gonna like that, because it's, you're the one writing it and you're the one putting it out there. Another pros for this is that there are definitely resources online that does make indie publishing a lot easier. So indie publishing is kind of growing as a market. Like you would be surprised how many times I've been on book tours and like I will have kids asking me, hey, do you have a Wattpad book? Like, oh, does this library or does this indie bookstore like sell Wattpad books? Or like, there's a lot of self-publishing resources out there that will like push your book out without you having to compromise whatever is important to you just to get it to a publisher. Another pro is that the margins are higher because the publishing companies won't take a cut. Which is something you can consider as well. Like, if it becomes like a massive bestseller, all that money just goes to you. Like the publisher does not take a cut from it. And these are some steps to take according to Ingramspark, which is another self-publishing website. Again, I've never done self-publishing. This is just the research I did for y'all. If you want to continue doing more research, have at it. So again, you want to write and revise, get beta readers, get whoever you need to help you really look into your book and how to make it better. You need to figure out the book design. Are you going to do the artwork? Are you going to get someone else to get the artwork? Then there's the book metadata, which consists of all the information that describes your book, like, the title, subtitle, price, trim size, which I believe is literally like I think it's like the actual size of this. Which I didn't even realize was a thing, but apparently it is. Obviously the author name, book description, and more. You obviously have to include the book description and also an ISBN, which is an international standard book number. So it's internationally recognized, which is a good thing because then it makes it easier for your readers to find you. And also it makes it easier for booksellers to find you. You'll want to purchase it before the book design starts because, the ISBN is, I believe, like down here, like the barcode number. Yeah, I can see the ISBN here. So, and you're going to want to do it like before, the design so that how it fits with the whole design of it. Also, an ISBN is for each different format of the book. So if you have a hardback, a paper book, an ebook, an audiobook, those are going to be like 4 different ISBN. Like you're going to have to purchase each one of those. I don't know how expensive that is. I apologize. I did not think to check. And then there's something called the BSAC codes, which just identifies what your book is about, like the primary genre, topics, and themes, which is again just useful for retailers and booksellers. So like just a general tip, no matter what direction you go in, I would say it's very important that you embed yourself in a writing community because not only does it keep you accountable, but it's also easy to kind of stay up on the trends and like find out like, oh, what are readers interested in? If you're like me, I have an actual list of book ideas. And so what I do every time I meet with my agent is, hey, I have a list of like 20 or so book ideas. I don't know which one you think would be like the best way to go first. So I'm just going to throw them all at you and you tell me which one to write next. I'm constantly having book ideas. I will never run out of it. So being in a writing community, having other people like kind of tell you like, oh, you know what, I could really use a book on, you know, werewolves or like vampires or whatever. And if you have like an idea for that and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna write this book now. You know, that's a good thing. You know, you want to be connected to your readers. Also, you know, publishing changes very often. I was told by my agent that the trends for publishing switch about every 7 years, which makes sense because I remember that brief time in like middle to high school where like every book I read was obviously just all about vampires. Like I think it was because of Twilight, but like every single book that came out was just vampires. Vampires were like all the rage for about 7 years or so. And then it's swapping out. And I think right now the trend is like definitely more, I may be biased because I am just following a lot of rom-com writers, but a lot of, if you've seen like the bestsellers list, a lot of those are rom-coms. So obviously the trend right now is just rom-coms, and, you know, maybe in another 7 years or so, it'll change to something different. But these, you know, although trends kind of make you feel like, oh, you know, I can't write what I want to write because it's not going to sell well now. It will continue changing. When by the time that the next trend comes around, your book might become the bestseller. Just do it. Write what you want to write, essentially. Another good resource is definitely NaNoWriMo, which is the National Novel Writing Month. There's an entire website, and they do have like different groups depending on like cities or like countries that you're in. I technically was doing NaNoWriMo when I wrote my book, but I started in October, so I don't think it qualifies anymore because you're supposed to only do it in November. But yeah, it's either way, it's another good resource to finding your writing community. If you want to find me, here is all of the social media that my publisher says I should keep telling people about. Although I only use Twitter right now. I have a TikTok, there's no videos. I have an Instagram that just, you know, I use rarely. I have a website. Twitter is where you're gonna find me tweeting more often though. So you can just find me there. And in conclusion, this is my book, Burn Down, Rise Up. But in conclusion, publishing is gonna be difficult no matter which way you go. So just be proud of the choices you make and of the stories that you tell. So yeah, that's it. Does anyone have any questions?
Awesome. Wow. Thank you for that presentation. And I love the cover of your book.
I'm a huge fan of it.
Awesome. Yeah. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can ask in the chat. And in the meantime, I have some questions for you that people pre-submitted before. Mm-hmm. So you have talked about the process of publishing the book and everything, but what would you say would some blockers that you had when publishing your book?
Some blockers.
Were there any?
I don't think there was any for me. I chose a very good agent who was like, you know, always the good thing, if you get an agent, you always want to get someone who definitely has your back. And so my agent was when we were revising this, she was already talking up my book to all of her editor friends, being like, hey, you know, we got a really good book that's like Stranger Things meets the Bronx, you know, like I'll send it to you later when it's like, so she was already talking it up, which made a big buzz about my book. And then like, by the time she sent it to publishers, there was like, at like 5 different publishers that were just like, we will pay this much money if you sell it to us right now. So I think, I don't think I had blockers. I just had a really good, I was lucky with my agent, with your who was just always trying to make me successful.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about your agent, what characteristics should a good agent have that will have a good look as you had?
I think a good agent should be like your first fan, like your first biggest fan, because again, they're going to be the ones that are advocating for you. You also want an agent that is, I guess like very honest about where they are in like reading your book. So my agent is always like very quick, gets back to me very quickly. If something's going on, like I think the last thing with one of the books that we were revising, she said that she would be like going on vacation to a place that will not have internet access, so she won't be in touch. So like at least like someone who's very open about like, okay, you're not gonna be able to reach me, or hey, I'm having a family emergency, so I won't be able to work on your book. I've heard horror stories from other authors who were just kind of like, this agent does not have my best interest at heart. So when I say you want an agent that is like your first biggest fan, I mean it. Like that is, you want someone that wants you to succeed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a good one. You're a
Yeah.
big fan. That's awesome. And how would you build a working agreement with an agent?
So this is something I didn't mention. So when I said, oh, you want to send query letters out by the dozens, like get as many interests as you can. You want to make sure that, like, obviously, let's say you have like a couple of them who get back to you and are just like, let's get on the phone and talk, or like, let's meet for coffee and talk about where you want to go. Which is like very standard. At least that was my experience. That you talk about where you want your writing career to go. So I told my agent, listen, I like doing speculative fiction. I like doing horror. I like doing sci-fi, things in that realm. You will probably not catch me writing some like contemporary novel. It's just not interesting to me. And then your agent tells you like, okay, here's what I have experience in. Here's what I can help with. And sometimes they'll even probe questions like, would you consider ever doing something like this or that? So I think that regarding like making a working agreement, don't make the agreement yet. Just try to like get to know each other a little bit, usually again, over a phone call, coffee. And if you have like maybe 4 other agents who that you're still meeting with, it's very customary for them to be like, you know what, you don't have to give me an answer right away. But if you do make a decision, regardless of if you go with me or someone else, just let me know when you do. So at no point should you ever be pressured to give an answer right away. You can tell agents, hey, I have 4 other agents who are interested in representing me. Have you gotten around to reading my book and what you think? You can do that. It's just it's a nudge. That's fine. But at no point should you feel pressured to take on any agent just because, oh, like I'm so busy, you should just sign me anyways. Another thing is, so this is like something a lot of people don't realize until they get into publishing, but there are definitely scammers within publishing. So never make an agreement where an agent says you have to pay them upfront. That is not how agents work. So if an agent says, if you pay for, $600 or whatever, then I can make sure your book gets out there. That's not standard. It's and a lot of the time, so I wish I remembered where I got the resource from. I think Publishers Weekly or like another like a legitimate source keeps a record of every agent that does these fraudulent practices in every different literary agencies. I wish I could remember, but yeah, it's definitely something to just like keep a lookout for. Just because someone says they're an agent who wants to work with you, you need to make sure that they are not going to try and like just kind of scam you.
Wow. Okay. That's a good one. And in your experience, what kind of books are bestsellers? What kind of topic can be a bestseller?
Oh God. See, that's always hard because again, trends change.
Yeah.
And like something that is like, something that got no attention at one point can suddenly become a bestseller like years down the road. Like, I think I remember, so, oh God, I don't want to use this example, but it's the only one coming to my head. So J.K. Rowling, like she was rejected like 12 times by publishers. And now there's like an entire theme park built off of her books and stuff. So it's very difficult to say, okay, what could be a bestseller? Like these trends always change.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true, actually. And talking about publishing, between publish an ebook or a hardcover book, which one is more profitable?
Okay. So I know for my book, I have, I have the hardcover and I do have an ebook. Um, I think maybe ebooks are probably slightly more profitable just because like most people these days have internet access. And so it's easier for a lot of people to just kind of download a book rather than having to go to a store and buying it. Also, hardcovers are definitely more expensive than paperbacks. So hardcovers in general are just going to be more expensive to do. And I believe, well, it also, I guess it kind of depends on your readers. So I personally, I prefer like having a hardcover copy. I could read an ebook, but like it's like an ADHD thing where it's just like it's hard for me to get through an ebook versus if I have like the actual copy in my hands and I can like flip through it. So if you know your readers are like some people that would rather have hardcovers, then maybe try and do like actual physical copies. Otherwise, I think ebooks are technically more profitable.
Awesome. And after you published your book, how would you go about selling copies after that?
Like from a traditional sense, or okay.
Yeah.
So a lot, again, when I say like embed yourself into a writing community, it's not just to keep yourself accountable, but it's also to keep yourself not relatable. What's that other R word? There's a different R word that I'm looking for. It's like, I can't remember it. You want to make yourself current. Like you want people to be aware of you and the fact that you're a writer. So again, what my publisher does is they send me out to different events. And like sometimes, and because it's my first book, obviously no one has ever heard of me. So what a lot of the times they'll do is they'll pair me up with someone who has, more books out or is more well-known. And then like, they'll be like, oh, if you like this person's book, you're going to love Vincent Tirado's debut novel. And so you do want to get yourself more involved with like other authors who probably are already a little bit more established, but also like definitely make friends with other debut authors because you're all going to be nervous. Like you're all going to be wondering like, oh my God, is my book good? Like, how do I know if it's good or not? So just always try to keep yourself like out there and talking about yourself as an author and your writing. And I think that pretty much like keeping it word of mouth definitely works a lot. I've been told TikTok is like the #1 way to sell books these days, which is wild to me. And it's why my publisher is telling me to get a TikTok, even though I can't use it to save my life. Because book talk is a thing. There are definitely lots of, book talkers, influencers that do nothing but talk about books. My roommate sent me TikToks of people talking about my book. And I was like, what? People like this? Yeah, so it's, social media, definitely. Like you definitely want to keep yourself on social media. I'm mostly on Twitter and that has worked out fine for me, but apparently book talk is a thing and you want to, keep yourself current on there as well.
Wow, yeah, TikTok. I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
A good platform. That's so great. And I have a question here for a person, and this person asks, how do I produce the element of laughter in my story without telling a joke?
I think the best way to do it is just by crafting funny situations. So like a lot of the times when I'm writing something that I think is funny, it's because my humor is definitely more geared towards, this situation is so ridiculous. Like you could not replicate this anywhere else. I think that's hilarious. And that's the way I do it without like telling a joke. I just kind of make it so that like, a bad situation gets so much more worse in ways that could not be replicated if you tried. Like, I think that's hilarious. So just feeling out how to make a funny situation rather than like, having a one-liner that is a joke is like the best way to produce laughter.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. And if anyone has another question, please let me know and I can ask our speaker today. And to continue with the questions I have for you, could you share some keys to consider when editing our first book, and what editorials do you recommend?
So, oh gosh, I wish I know I have a book in my bookshelf in my living room. There's this book I highly recommend called Save the Cat, Guide to Book Writing. And it definitely helps you understand how to craft like a narrative that goes from like point A to point B, including like, okay, so you want like a big event to happen within like the first 15,000 words or so, which I think for me is like maybe the first 3 chapters or something. And that's like something my agent helped me understand, because my first draft of this is not what is like, it's completely different. So a lot of things were moved around, just because I didn't have a good grasp on narrative storytelling. So I would definitely like get like Save the Cat, tips on book writing that will help you understand how to move a story forward. Also grammar. So like English class did not teach me about grammar growing up. Like it did not. It taught me how to think critically, which is fine. We do need like critical thinking, but I did not know half of the grammar that I'm like starting to put into practice now. So grammar is definitely a thing that you want to look into. Just it will help a lot with, especially with editing. It definitely helps because when the first time around when I was revising this with my agent, there was like I spent like a whole month just getting through like the grammatical errors and stuff. So that will definitely be very helpful in the editing process.
Okay. And now talking about editing, what would you do differently in your second book when it comes to the editing process?
Oh my God. I mean, second book is already written and sent to my editor.
My
Yeah, it's already done. I can't do anything different now. It's already off. It's going to be coming out next year.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Thanks. I mean, I am writing a third book, which I'm editing right now for my agent. So I guess for that one, I'm going through like making sure I'm not making the same grammatical errors. I'm trying to read more books that I think would like fall into line with like, so a good thing to always do with writing is also reading. Just read a lot of books in your genre. So I read this one really good book called The Other Black Girl, and like the suspense that they crafted throughout the entire novel is definitely something I want to emulate for my third book. And so that's something I'm gonna do differently. I'm gonna go through step by step, try to see how I can make this more of a thrill and much more suspenseful than I did with my first 2 books.
Okay, awesome. And I have another question for another person. Mm-hmm. And this person is asking, any tips for formatting a book of short stories or poetry?
Oh my God, I wish I knew. I've never formatted like short stories or poetry before. Just I don't have any tips on that. I know nothing.
And do you think an agent can help here? Like right?
Definitely. Yeah, no, there are definitely agents who have more experience with formatting like short story books or poetry. Again, I think there's definitely resources. I had this huge like book that was in 2019 though, so I think they update it every year, and it was just a writer's guide to literary agencies. It has a whole list of them. And so you can like find out like, okay, I want an agent who works primarily with like poetry books or short story books. Yeah, so an agent would be a much better help than me right now.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and you can share your books and everything in through email, and I can send all the people here the recommendations. It doesn't matter if you don't remember right now.
Yeah, I will find it. I like a lot of them are just in my bookshelves, but like, yeah.
Awesome, perfect. And any tips on how to publish a book on Kindle? How can I make it audible?
Okay, so on Kindle, there is definitely like ebook formatting that you need to be aware of. I know this because I think years ago I thought about doing self-publishing, and then I found out about ebook formatting, and I was just like, never mind, this book will never see the light of day. So I think I think you, because the difference is staggering. Like, it's not just, oh, I wrote a book, I'm just gonna throw it into an like there's definitely like a very specific way to format it. And I think there are definitely like people, not even just agents, but there are people whose expertise are in just formatting but like ebooks. In regards to making it audible, like, do they mean audiobooks?
Yeah, exactly. Mhm.
Okay, so audiobooks is a little bit trickier. I know that for my book, we have an audiobook. We had sold it to like an audiobook company, and what they did was they held auditions for like several different people to read through it. My book definitely has some Spanish in it, and so when like I really like the person we went with anyways. So the person that did the audiobook, I really like the way that they did like voices, and like just character voices were very unique. But they did not speak Spanish. And so what that entailed for me was I had to record myself pronouncing each word that showed up in Spanish. Like, hey, this is how you pronounce this. This is how you pronounce that. Sent it over, and they did a fantastic job. So when it comes to doing audiobook, you have to think about if you are going to be holding auditions, think about what the pay rate for that is. Because I mean, if you want like a professional, they're going to demand a pay rate. And then also think about like the languages that are used, and if these people like will be able to kind of mimic that language in any sort of way.
Awesome. And that's so cool that it's in Spanish.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I have a question. It's my question, because
Sure.
I am kind of not that patient. But you
Mhm.
said that, for example, in the process, you have to wait and wait and wait. What did you do in the waiting?
I was working. So every author I know has a day job. Everyone thinks that, oh, if you're an author, you can just that's your whole job. No, absolutely, that is false. Unless you are J.K. Rowling with like a whole like theater park to your name, you are definitely working. You have a day job, so you're going to be busy. You're going to keep yourself busy regardless. And I think also I took a break, because I mean, writing a book is very long and hard, and like it's nice to be able to be done with it and to know I don't have to think about it for another couple of months. It's just really nice to be able to be like, you know what, I'm done. Here you go. Don't bother me for the next 3 weeks. I'm just going to be on a beach somewhere. And it's a lot of work. You're going to be glad that you don't have to think about it.
Yeah, actually, yes. I have always wanted to write my book, but oh my God, I'm so bad at that. But Rhys, thank you so much for this presentation, for this information that you gave to us. And thank you for your time, for being here with us today. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for being here with us. If you had any other question before finish this meeting, please let us know. And in the meantime, I sent to you in the chat some information that we have. And we have the Diversity Reboot Pride Summit. So you can mark your calendars. I sent it to you the link there where you can do that. And if you join the summit, PowerToFly wants you to share a screen grab of your favorite Pride Summit talk on social media. From there, PowerToFly will choose 5 winners to receive a signed copy of Rhys' debut novel, Burns Down, Rise Up. So this is just for folks in the US only. So thanks again, Rhys, for this. And thank you all for being here. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.